Welcome to the Introverted Doctor podcast, the podcast that uncovers myths, mistakes, and misconceptions that holds healthcare professionals back from living their best life at work, home, and play. I'm Dr. Lalit Chawla, and with each episode, I'll be focusing on different aspects such as communication techniques, mindset routines, tools, and strategies with the goal to show how to eliminate anxiety, trip-ups, and unwelcome results that come from ineffective communication. Welcome, folks. Today is Valentine's Day, and I don't want to make a big deal of it, but I don't want to ignore it either. It's an important day in some respects, and I do want to share a few quick original thoughts on this that I know that could serve you. Valentine's Day stands for love, and love can mean so much, from the romantic notion that is implied simply by Valentine's Day to the lusty aspects of it, which I'm not going to be focusing on this episode, but maybe on a future episode, and to the real essential important aspects such as making sure you're connected with the people closest to you, but also connected with yourself when you acknowledge your inner strength, flaws, and authenticity. If you know me, you know that I believe the quality of your life really depends on the quality of your relationships and how you continue to nurture those relationships. In the last 6 months have been quite a loss for a few people close to me. My father-in-law passed away at the beginning of January. A few friends of mine lost a close family member. 2 friends of mine had accidental deaths of their pets, and just recently a friend of mine, his brother, passed away, unfortunately at a very young age. Actually Dr. Ken Mill's brother, Scott Mill. I interviewed Ken earlier this week for the podcast, and my thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family, and he knows that. And it was just really a sad thing that happened. Now, I don't want this podcast to be very long. I just want to state some key unique messages for you to think about on Valentine's Day, with a few thoughts that may not be so obvious. Number 1, we forget how important people are or how important certain things are until we lose them. I know you know this, but the reason I think we forget about how important people are is because of primarily for 2 reasons. 1, we take things for granted since we're too busy. I know that when I was younger, I certainly thought my mom would live forever, but she died at a very young age of 52 from breast cancer. It taught me the value of being present and being more mindful and appreciative and being patient in relationships. So remember to be kind and connect with people you love, and also to remember it's sometimes useful to ask the question, if you were to die today, or if somebody close to you passed away today, would you feel any regret? Because one of the biggest regrets people have when they're dying is that they wish they had the courage to express themselves. They wish they had been more connected and more vocal about how other people or what other people meant to them. And you don't have to do it in a big way. You don't have to use the word love. You can use, an action like a little tap on the shoulder or even buying a coffee. That means you invested in them and they mean something to you. A kind, gentle smile. Even sharing a joke or laughter means something. It means you cared enough to connect. I think of that on a regular basis, especially for the people closest to me. When somebody dies, we sometimes feel sad that we won't be able to share the good times again or have a dialogue with them. But equally, sadness can result if there was anything left unsaid. And I don't want to make this any more complicated than it needs to be, given that it's Valentine's Day. But the question for you to ask is, if someone close to you passed away tomorrow, would you feel any regret for not conveying to them how meaningful they were to you? Would they know that? I know things get complicated in relationships, and sometimes you need to pull away from a relationship that you're bounded to because they're either a family member or a friend. But knowing that you had to pull away for your own safety or your own mental health doesn't necessarily mean that you hate the other person. It may simply mean that the relationship couldn't have been deeper because you may be in a journey with the knowledge and awareness that you have at the time or had at the time. But more importantly, the other person was or is on their journey, and they just could not act or behave in a more connected manner with you. So sometimes you may have done all that you could at the time, and that's okay. Sometimes maybe you didn't. But be kind to yourself and others. And kindness means being grounded in time-honored principles of respect and health and civility. The other key point I wanted to make is don't forget to remember the importance of how different people communicate. And I wish I had saved my podcast on love languages, episode 12, for Valentine's Day, but I didn't. And so that would have been an ideal one to listen to. I mean, there is some golden information in there which I didn't create, but it was written from the work created by Dr. Gary Chapman. It will serve you exceptionally well. In fact, you should stop this podcast episode and just jump to that one, because that's probably one of the most important concepts I've ever learned, which has helped my relationships tremendously. Once you learn that concept, it will change the way you see yourself, your partner, and how couples can connect. The final comment with love and connection is that it is a significant human need. One of the 6 core human needs that influences people's actions. I won't go into the detail, but I will do a future podcast on the 6 core human needs and how it influences us in a tremendous way. It's probably the most important thing I've ever learned, but briefly, they are the needs for certainty, variety, the need for significance, in other words, recognition, and the need for love and connection. These are the 4 primary needs, and they don't give our lives meaning, but they are necessary to keep us alive and survive. But the 5th and 6th need for growth and contribution are really the ones that make us live a more passionate life and gives us joy. Now, this is Valentine's Day, and it is the day for love and connection, and different people have different ways of meeting this need. Some people just express it differently. For some people, it really drives their actions and motivations. Think about your friends, the ones that want to be, cared for. They care about other people, how they are treated, more than anything else. They may get lonely easier. They may need to spend more time connecting not only with others, but also with themselves, like some introverts. Then you have friends or family that may not need it as much. It doesn't drive their day-to-day actions as much. They may be more motivated for having a life of variety, where they're experimenting different things and have adventure. So the different needs vary. But whatever it is for you, today is Valentine's Day, and make sure you connect with your key people, not only your partner, but the people in your life, and live with each day with a healthy level of love and connection. Because in my opinion, relationships and the quality of the relationships and how you nurture and develop them is the key to living a life with greater harmony and joy. Have a happy Valentine's Day and a great Valentine's Day weekend. May you find great joy, magic, and love in all your connections with people that you care about. I hope this podcast served you in some way. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, please share with a friend or colleague. Send them this episode and let them know you were thinking of them. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. And if you go to the introverteddoctor.com and sign up in there, you'll get my weekly emails about the podcast episode that's coming out. I'm Dr. Lalit Chawla, and thank you again so much for listening. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day weekend.